everyone. Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. We got a full crew tonight. We got Sam and Zach. We're talking a little bit of FC Cincinnati starting their playoff run here. We'll kind of recap a 2-2 draw, that we had against Atlanta this past week. But first off, Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. Ready for the playoffs to start finally. It's felt like a very long season. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but yeah, ready for the playoffs to get going.
Getting with me, it's good to be back on the pod again. I know I've been having some brief hiatus here and there for traveling, but I'm glad to be back and seeing the playoffs come through. It's going to be some fun soccer watching.
There's going to be a lot of soccer spread out over a long period of time. Gents, we'll kind of get into it in the second half of the pod, but we got soccer for another month and a half, boys. Hopefully that we're going to be in it, but December 9th is the final game. So the boys are going to be stretched out over another month and a half. We're going to have plenty of content coming to you guys, but I'm excited to at least chat at least tonight. We had a 2-2 draw against Atlanta, kind of a back and forth game for the old FC, last home regular season game of the year. So, right before the pod started here live, we were just chatting. The crowds were insane, both, getting into the stadium. I think they had kind of like a clear bag giveaway, or like a fanny pack. And then they had like a 20% off in the team store too. So Zach and I made our way over. I ended up getting this supporter shield shirt here. Highly recommend everyone to go and grab some, but it was just a cool atmosphere. But Zach, how did you feel about it?
No, it was awesome. It just felt like I hadn't been at a game day in so long. Like, I don't know why, but I think I told you this at the game. It's just like the breaks that we have in this final quarter of the season, just there's not enough soccer. I feel like it just too many long breaks, like international break and Leagues Cup and all this other stuff. But no, it was good to be back in the old TQL. It's good to see a lot of fans, both Atlanta fans and Cincinnati fans. Good traveling for them.
Yeah, it felt like a playoff game. That's kind of what I think you're touching on, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I thought the liveliness was there for sure.
Sam, watching it, did you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had that vibe to it, especially from the get-go. I mean, coming into this game, I knew it was going to be like a hard-fought game, especially, Atlanta kind of wanting to earn a little bit more points before the playoffs actually begin. But I know going into talking about the lineups, I know last week we had talked about possibly getting that look from Baji and a couple other people that could possibly step in, as this is the last part, last game of the regular season. Got to see Baji. Was interesting to see that we had talked about it last week again too. Murphy getting the call over Hagelin. Interesting to see how that develops going into the playoffs. We'll talk a little bit more about his play during this game, but yeah, I thought the lineup, those two we shouted out last week and got right.
And
Zach,
I mean,
any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I guess on just the lineup in general, I mean, I think we're going to touch on it here shortly, but with just Bupenza missing, I mean, it was nice to see Murphy in over Hagelin. I know we all love the old Hagelin, um, hometown hero guy, but I think Murphy was in the plans to be the starter over Hagelin. So it's good to see him kind of showing up and putting his I guess trying to put his heart out. But it's good to see Powell get minutes as well, because I think he'll be a crucial sub, at least when the going gets tough. I think he's going to have to play a lot of defense, center back or um, right back if Arias is injured or hurt throughout the playoffs. So, I mean, besides that, I think it was a solid lineup for what we had going into playoffs.
Yeah, I think, he wants to start to kind of get on a roll as the playoffs begin, get some guys in familiar positions. Ideally we would have wanted Santiago Arias to play out wide, but like you said, Zach, Powell fills in nicely there. I still I mentioned this during the game to you. I said I still would have loved to see Brett Halsey start out, wide right, in a game where, maybe the other team's playing a little bit more aggressively on the road. They seem to be fighting like super hard in this game. I don't know if you felt that way. Like they had nothing to play for. Even if they won, they wouldn't have even bumped up into a spot like higher up, or even if they lost. So it was kind of interesting to see how hard that Atlanta played in some ways. And we'll kind of get into that here in a little bit. But I would have felt like at least Halsey getting some more minutes. We see him in the second half, but a starting position to kind of build in his confidence going into it. But experience, I think he put experience ahead of that. And that's why you see that. So otherwise, our starting lineup looks familiar, as the two gentlemen here have pointed out. Baji for Bupenza, Arias for Powell kind of are the switches there. And then Murphy seemingly has won the center back battle. So he's our starting third center back there. We'll kind of roll into the first part of the game. Guys, I was nervous 7 minutes in. Mascara dribbles into trouble and Atlanta's down our throats already. They play one ball to Yakimakis, and Celentano was on his game tonight, or I guess on Saturday night. He made a heck of a save, to start that first 8 minutes off there. And thankfully we didn't go down, early on from there.
Yeah, I think that was one of those mistakes where you really don't see Mascara make too often. I feel like he's only made that same mistake maybe like twice, maybe 3 times this season, which is, relatively good for a center back. But yeah, that touch when he wanted to explode off the ball just was not there. And then he gives away the ball, and Celentano, like you said, standing on his head right there earlier in the game, having to make an incredible save. I mean, to be honest with you, it was a better save in my mind than it was kind of a effort of finish. I mean, you could say he probably should have put it a little wider than right at his gloves, but I thought it was a phenomenal save. He came out big and kind of set the tone early, but unfortunately, the defense didn't really help him most of the game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Celentano made a couple great saves. Similar, I mean, exact, almost same but opposite side. But his ability to make a save in that instance kind of overshadows some of the other saves that he has made or hasn't made, I guess.
That's true.
Like, there are times where I'm like, you can save that, but this one, like, I don't get it. Like, there's no like correlation. So I'm still trying to figure out Celentano and how he is able to make some of those saves.
It just feels like, depending on the game, like you said, in some big moments, I can think of the Crew game. He makes a vital save at the end, or, later on in the season, he's kind of been shaky in some plays. I remember the Toronto game, the one goes between his legs. It's like, you're right. It kind of picks his moments, but hopefully at least this game, he played pretty well. And I hope that leads into the playoffs.
And truthfully, I mean, you can't really complain about 12 clean sheets on the season. So
second best in the MLS. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. And is that a testament of the defense too? Yeah. But I mean, he's had a pretty solid year in goal. And that stat doesn't lie. You're right. But Sam, to kind of lead to our point on the defense and leading to troubles, the 12th minute, we get into immediate trouble and we leave, their best player, Almada, their number 10, right in the middle of the field to come down our throat. He plays the ball out wide to this blonde-haired guy that looks like John Tolkien. We said it all game. I don't know if you felt that way, but their right winger looked like the Red Bulls, like left back. But anyway, this guy cuts back. Yakimakis finds some space and slots it away. What'd you see in that play?
Yeah, it was way too easy. I mean, you had Obi and Moreno kind of literally standing in their positions. If you were to, look at the field from above, and Almada is just right there in the middle. It's way too easy for him to find the winger on that right side. And then Miazga steps. He does a great job of stepping, but so does Murphy. Like, why does
Yeah.
Murphy step with Miazga? It was almost like he had, a string attached to Miazga and he was like pulling him with him. So I thought that was interesting. So by Murphy stepping up behind Miazga, he wasn't really helping Barrial recover on that right side. So that's what left that right wing a little bit more open than it should
Yeah.
have. And, it results in the goal.
Yeah, Zach, I went instantly to like, we need to wake up. Like
Yeah.
Salentano makes this incredible save, and then they score this kind of like sitter. And I look at you and I'm like, where is this team? Like, are they still in the clubhouse? Like, what's going on? But I don't know your thoughts on that, I guess, and what we lead into next. But
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, like you said, they needed to wake up. I mean, Moreno and Obi were completely out of position. I think they were
yeah,
at above the center circle. Like, if I remember seeing like the highlight, it was like Almada was 25 yards behind Obi and
yeah,
Moreno. So like, I there must have been some miscommunication, but in my opinion, I think Obi needs to be that destroyer, sit back, kind of pretty much just follow Almada all night. Like, that's
yeah,
really
just
all you
man
need to
mark him.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Good call.
And really, like, in my opinion, I think that would have solved it all, because that would have broke that entire play up completely. Because I mean, you know how he is. So, I mean, I guess that's my take on that. But I guess moving into the next situation, I guess we've got our I don't have the time stamp, but it looks like at the
18th,
18th
right? Yeah.
18th minute, yeah, with the beautiful Barreal touch to Meg. It was just amazing. And then you see that beautiful pass, and then just a big old shank and a whiff by Baji. Um, Granted, it was a tough. It's kind of a high like, it's kind of like chest level, so you can't really head it, but you can't really kick it. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But tough play to finish on. But what's your thoughts?
Did you guys see like the Meg, first off, is just unbelievable. It's world class because he turns nothing into something. Like we just get scored on. We kind of look dead in the water, and he's on the wing and he's like, I'm going to create. What do we say all year long about him in creating chances? We go down Barrial's side. We don't go down the right side hardly ever. We go down Barrial's side. He megs him, takes one or two touches, and whips the ball in past two defenders right on his foot, though, or like Zach said, it kind of bounces up. But I mean, you wouldn't want to put it anywhere else. It was beautiful ball. It reminded me of Bupenza's ball in Philadelphia, the early cross that he puts in for our second goal to equalize. That's kind of the early cross. He hit that, what was it, triple X, Sam? Isn't that, or triple square? Is it triple square, I think, for that early cross?
Yeah. Double, triple.
The FIFA shout out there. But yeah, unbelievable ball, creates that chance in the 18th minute. But then I think Baji gets his revenge, Sam.
Yeah, so a little bit later, I leave 25th minute. You finally get the Baji goal that we're looking for. And it all starts with Barreal again. Barreal switching the play over to Powell. What a touch by Powell. And then another touch to flick it over the shoulder to Acosta. Like, I don't know what was going through his head, but I think he saw Acosta and was like, maybe I should try and be like him, because Acosta tends to like to do those, world-class flair little things. But yeah, Acosta plays it off to him, does a great job of kind of bodying the defender off the ball. And then Powell plays a phenomenal low cross ball right to Baji's feet, like literally on a string right in front of the goal. Goalkeeper didn't have a chance to even put a glove out, anything, and it's in the back of the net like that.
Yeah, like I want to go back to the Powell comment on like he's the most unpredictable player on the field. Like absolutely, you don't know what's about to happen, and that's why early on in the game I was like, I don't think they're playing Alvis Powell the ball because they honestly don't know what he's going to do with it. Like
I was
I
surprised
swear,
Acosta passed it back to him, to be honest with you.
yeah, no kidding, he did, and he played him, and I mean, give him credit, he put it right where he needed to. So
Yeah, I mean, my thought on that whole run of play, I mean, other than that Baji chance, the previous one, that's the second chance they really had on goal up until that time. Like, I don't think we had any possession in the Atlanta's third until those two times. So I mean, we're making our plays count is basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah. We make it count, but then kind of go back to just ball watching, the 32nd minute, we're at a 1-1 game. We kind of get it even, and they kind of take a page out of our book. Almada turns, plays the ball out wide to John Tolkien lookalike, and he plays it back to the right back, who swings in a ball into the box. And I had to go back and look at this, guys. I wasn't sure what happened, but Giakoumakis, again, scores, but actually has phenomenal positioning as a striker for this play. I think it's a big failure of Powell to tell Mosquera where he is, though. If you look at when the ball is about to be crossed, he comes across Powell right in front of Mosquera, in between him and Miazga. So Powell's got to tell him he's coming across, pick him up, or step in front of him. Giakoumakis comes right through and just taps it in. Two kind of like goals where it's just almost seems like tap-ins, but good positioning by the striker. I mean, he's a true goal scorer, so I have to give him some credit on that. But in the playoffs, we can't be letting guys have that much space, especially, a guy like him.
No, yeah, I want to go back to before that, though, before Almada gets to turn and play it on the right. You have Obi, who does a phenomenal job of pressuring him and trying to get a ball away from him, and then no one steps, no one helps him. You have guys like Vasquez, Moreno, and even Murphy. They all kind of like hesitated towards the ball and did nothing. So I look at that as, yeah, I would agree with you. Powell needs to talk to Mosquera on that one, but how does Miazga and Murphy not get a touch on that at all? It just, I feel like they, once again, just left Celentano for himself to try and make a phenomenal save. But
I don't know if he needs to call that ball out. Maybe if it is between them, like maybe they were waiting on him to like say like, hey, I'm coming out and getting it. But I mean, that didn't happen.
At least redirect it or something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how. I saw the replay like 50 times, it seemed like, trying to understand what happened on that play, because a lot was wrong, because I feel like Murphy didn't clear it. I feel like he could have had a knee or something on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, Ryan, we even talked about this at the game, like nobody was man marking, like, and we mentioned it earlier, like our man marking is really poor. I don't know if it could be if Murphy's on the field, but I just, the last couple games have been pretty rough on that aspect.
Just felt like they had like so much space. You're exactly right about that. And is it a lack of communication? We usually see, Miazga dictates that and tells people when to step and who to cover and mark. You had a little bit of a change with Powell in the right back spot. So does that change your communication a little bit? One point in the first half, we even switched Mosquera and Murphy. And I commented on it because I thought it was very interesting that he didn't like what he saw in the first 15 minutes and tried to see if it would change it up. And he actually goes back to putting Mosquera in the right center back, and they still do this. So I don't know if that's a failure on that side of the field potentially, but it'll be something to look out on. As we kind of move on, the first half was the dominant half of what happens in this game. Almada ends up getting a yellow card for their team on a breakaway. This is kind of important because he gets his first yellow. He ends up getting a second one. Spoiler alert for those who didn't see it, but he gets a red card. But that also happens in the first half. I felt like we really needed to fight back and at least draw, at the half to give us a good chance. Just the way that things were going, we just were kind of not creating a ton like Zach had mentioned. So 45th minute, some magic happens. Sam?
Yeah, I think on that left-hand side, like you said, it all starts with Barreal again. This time he fakes the left-footed cross, which I looked back at it. He had 14 crosses in this game, and whoever was second in crosses like wasn't even close. Like 14 of them, he's swinging them in. And so if you're the guy on the right side, like you're probably thinking he's about to whip this in with his left foot, cuts back on his right, and I'm like, I don't know how good of a cross this is going to be with the right foot, but it's an accurate cross, and Lucho barely skims the top of his head, but puts it and redirects it into the right bottom corner for another fantastic goal. I thought it was really impressive by Lucho to kind of hang in the air like he did, and kind of control his body. I thought that was great.
I mean, I, both are completely not typical with what you see with either character. Like you got a
That's so true.
right-footed Barreal and a header from Lucho. It's like the the just watching Barreal try to kick that with his right foot, like he was trying so hard. You could see it in him. Like he did put all his power into just making an accurate cross, and then
He
it
does it
gets to
like 5
Lucho.
times in the game too. He had
Uh,
like
oh
4 or
yeah,
5 right-footed crosses.
maybe Pat Noonan is making him use his right foot more.
I think
Hey,
Ajax was in attendance and wanted to
that's what
see
I
if
was.
he could use
Yeah.
his right
I was
foot.
about to say.
There you go.
Yeah, it was. You're right. You're spot on about like something you don't see from these characters. You know what I mean? Like Alvaro, I don't think has used his right foot all season. Even later on in the game, he gets a ball where it was clearly a right-footed like cross situation. It just cuts back. I mean, that's so easy for a defender to like position themselves. But dude, I'll take it. I'm not gonna lie. Lucho being Argentinian, I'm gonna kind of shout this out. I thought that it was like a hand of God moment from Lucho. Like, if you guys remember Maradona, in the World Cup goes up and it looks like he hits it with his head, but he actually like punches it into the goal. I thought he did that. I like legit thought it was the same thing. And then I had to like go back and like watch it again. Oh, it does hit his head. Would have been
Yeah,
amazing
I don't know.
Argentinian moment.
I, I don't know about the comparisons, but yes, as far as both of them being Argentinian, yes, I would say that would be that would be pretty close. But yeah, definitely an interesting goal, all in all. But then you get more exciting stuff here just 4 minutes later in the game, 51st minute. You're like seeing the ball kind of move back and forth, watching, and then all of a sudden you see Mascara just fall to the ground. Like that's how it looked to me. I was like, I have no idea what just happened. And then you kind of look back and look in that direction of the screen, and they're bumping and shoving. Him and Almada are fighting for position, and then Almada just kicks him in the heels. Like he just kicks him in the calf. And then of course, Ryan, like you mentioned before, he already was on one yellow. He gets his second and then red card right there, 51st minute.
Yeah, knowing Mascara, I mean, don't mess with him when that stuff starts happening. He will fall. Like he'll draw a yellow if he has to.
He's gonna roll around for a while too.
Yep.
I instantly looked at Zach and I said, Almada is their best player and he's out for their first playoff game. I mean, that is the first thought that went through my head. And a guy like 2 rows ahead of us that has season tickets and sits by us, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know. I think he might listen, but he turns around and he goes, "That's why the MLS made a best of 3 for the first round of the playoffs." And I was like, I don't think they made that just for that situation, but it is kind of interesting because they do play Columbus and they're going to miss him in that game, but that's not our problem. As the second half goes on though, as we said, 51st minute that happens. So we have 40 minutes plus to try to get a goal and nothing really happens. Like we get a really good opportunity around the 70th minute for Barrial to just tap it in the ball either to Vasquez or to just, place it, but blast it over the goal. So that was kind of unfortunate to see. We had a couple of guys sub in that, like I said, Halsey gets his chance to try to shine a little bit. And actually I think he does a pretty good job, but I felt like even being a man up, like, is this our kryptonite, guys? Like every time we go up a man, like we don't seem to make anything happen.
Well, even a man up, Atlanta had more like crucial chances than we did. I think our only crucial chance was that Barreal miss, which he skied over the bar. But yeah, to your point, I think being a man up kind of we don't really know what to do with the ball, because we have to play just on our half and figure it out, and it slows the game down. And you know, I I think that's where we need to just start playing crosses in. You need to start utilizing your wingers, and having a guy like Vasquez in the middle needs to just body his way into a goal. That's what needs to happen there.
Sam, we're 20 something minutes into this podcast and we haven't mentioned Vasquez's name. How much could we have used him a man up where you have a big body in there to try to will your way into a goal. I mean, I said his name 3 times the entire night. The dude was absent against his former team.
He was a
Mhm.
ghost. I think from the stats, I think he had the least touches in the entire game. So it goes to show. Um, yeah, I mean, with us being up a man, I think we were in our half kind of the last 15, 20 minutes or so. Or sorry, not in our half.
In
We
their
were
half.
in, yeah, we were on the offense, in Atlanta's side. And I think that's probably where Barrial got all his crosses from, to be honest. But I mean, really, it seems like when we're up a guy, it just seems like they just every team just plays the um parks the bus. That's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we understand that just placing guys in the box that'll do the job. It should. I mean, you've got Kubo who was in. He's a predator when it comes to kind of sweeping up the field. Like just kick the ball in the box. Like that's all you got to do. I don't get why
They
we
try to
never
get too
just
perfect with it. Like
yeah.
it's just like they have to find the perfect pass, or like how many times did you see a shot from outside the 18? I think I forget who was it Obi maybe had a good one. Yeah, Obi had a good one in the second half that goes just wide. A right-footed one that he kind of puts across the goal. But besides that, I mean, you're right. We tried to whip in some crosses, I feel like, but it was too slow. That for me is the biggest thing. When you play a team with a man down, you have to play the ball quicker than where they can go. Because like realistically, you should have more space. But if the team packs it in and then tries to break on the counter, like that's kind of become a weakness in a way for us. So, the game ends up being 2-2. Obviously it's the last regular season game. So FC ends the season 25-9 overall, but it's kind of like an up and down feeling. You don't really know how to feel going into it because you have a player in Arias that's injured. You have kind of a question mark with Aaron Bupenza, so we can kind of get into this right now. Um, right before the game starts, the lineups come out and the news about Bupenza being a question mark and, where is he at comes out that, they disciplined him for a game and they sat him. Is that to send a message to the player? Like, hey, this has happened 2-3 times now. It was a very interesting situation. And even after the game, Pat Noonan kind of comes out and says, hey, this isn't done. We're still going to try to figure out this scenario and what's going to happen with this player. But you see all the other guys put the effort in. And I think that some of the guys are feeling disrespected, that, he had his last game on Tuesday and he doesn't return to the country in a timely manner. That's got to kind of be a weird feeling for some of the other players. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird scenario. I wish we had a little bit more information to go off of. Exactly kind of the details of, his arrival or departure from international duty.
Mm-hmm.
I know he had some personal issues in Gabon earlier this season, and it's kind of been ongoing. So not sure if that has something to do with it. But once again, for us, at least as FC Cincinnati fans, first priority has to be the squad that you're helping get to the MLS Cup. I mean, he, like we've talked about all season for him, he seems to have the energy. Like he loves this squad, loves FC Cincinnati, like plays with pride. I need to see that, off the field as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good call out. I mean, you see his energy in games, and it would be nice for that to translate to the I guess off the field. But like, what is it with $1 million strikers in FC Cincinnati? Like, I it just they don't jive very well. So maybe I guess we need to figure out the whole translation. It could be a lost in translation thing. It could be, a million things. Like Sam said, you never know what it could be. Let's hope his personal life is, I guess, in a positive note. Let's hope it's good. But you got to come out and play. It's your job. So let's see how
Yeah.
he pulls up into the playoffs.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it is he's got to be here if you're going to pay him that much money, and for the club to publicly come out and say something means like there's an issue, and this is the way to get his attention to say, hey, this isn't acceptable. Aaron Bupenza tweets out earlier on in the day, I'm excited for match day, and has a graphic and everything. So I think he kind of got blindsided by it, to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he kind of put out like a game day thing and everything. So it was very interesting to see. I don't like this going into the playoffs at all. And Sam, are you going to touch on that?
Well, I was going to hopefully recap this game with somewhat of a note, which is the fact that we were counting down at least a couple episodes ago. We were talking about the 200th goal in FC Cincinnati history, and Baji's goal was the 200th goal in FC Cincinnati history. So that's a plus right there. And then I'd like to give a honorable shout out, because I know the three of us didn't have him, so spoiler alert for later. I'd like to give an honorable jersey swap to Barreal. The dude is the first player in club history to appear in all 34 regular season matches. Wow. Like, this guy, an absolute workhorse, didn't get injured all season. Like, shout out to him.
That's a great shout. I mean,
that's amazing.
To play all 34 games of the MLS season is just incredible. I think that makes 42 appearances in all competitions for him as well. He jersey swaps in real life with Thiago Almada at halftime, actually, which a lot of people were surprised that you can even do that, but they get new jerseys in the second half. And I think that Almada would have swapped with Lucho at the end of the game, is why they did that at halftime. But future Argentina national team players together there, I think that's on the next agenda for Barreal, and I think it's realistic. But guys, I have a trivia question for you before we go to break here. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
So which FC Cincinnati player has the most MLS Cup playoff appearances? And then a second part to this, who has the most wins? And then if you can give me who's won the MLS Cup, that'd be kind of like a bonus too.
Oh, geez. We got 3 questions here. 3 trivia questions of the week right here. Most appearances. I'm going to go most appearances will go Hagelin. Playoff wins will go Ray Gaddis. And then who's won MLS Cup? I think it was Vasquez and Hagelin, if I'm correct.
All right. Zach, what about you?
Some good guesses. On the appearances, I'm gonna go Santos. Wins, we'll go. Geez, these last 2, I'm completely oblivious. Wins will go Vasquez, who has won MLS Cup. We'll go Vasquez as well.
All right. There you heard it. Wait until the end of the episode. We'll give you the answer, but some good guesses out there. We're going to go to break, and then we'll be right back with you guys.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools, working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. Sam is like thinking something is really funny right now. I think we're going to debate having a live podcast from TQL Stadium. Sam, let's hear your part or your bit on it.
No, that was, I mean, I think it'd be hilarious. That's what I'm banking on is, hey, if you want to see a live podcast or at least a recording of us in front of TQL Stadium with just a fold up table and 3 mics, let us know, and we'll go and do it. Hey, I'll do it even in December. I'll do it in freezing cold weather if that's what the people want to hear or see.
I'm not going to do that, but you can do that.
Lame.
All right, maybe we can go to the
from
pitch.
TQL
I'd go to
Stadium.
the pitch. If you want to go to the pitch, we'll go to the pitch.
No, I'll do my Zoom call. I'll do the Zoom call from TQL Stadium.
All right, Sam reporting live from TQL. You heard it here first, December. Sam, mark your calendar. You're going to be doing it. We were doing honorable shout outs. I'm going to do an honorable shout out to Pat Noonan. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I thought it was pretty cool. In MLS history, for coaches in their first 2 full seasons as a manager, Pat Noonan has the second best win percentage ever. He entered the last game of the season with a 63.4 win percentage, only trailing Tata Martino, Inter Miami's coach, for the first 2 seasons in MLS, who had 64.7%. With the draw, I think we're probably going to slide down to like 62 or something like that now, but he's got 20 years of managerial experience, and this is Pat's second season. So pretty incredible that he's done so well, even in, 2 seasons. He's got some really, really good assistant coaches to help him out. So I think that definitely goes into that.
Yeah. Love you, Pat. Shout out.
Always shout out to Pat, who got his new contract last week, guys.
Love to hear it.
Sam and I predicted it literally last episode. We said
the past 2 episodes,
get this man a new contract, and they did. So they must listen.
It was you guys.
It was all us. We're not
What can I say?
We're not paying for the contract, but we're just promoting it. We wanted it to happen, and it happened. So anyway, we'll move on to some other good news, or maybe uplifting stuff here. Jersey swap, Sam. What was your jersey swap of the week?
Yeah, was gonna go with Barriel, but decided to give some light and some shine to another guy. My jersey swap of the week was Alvis Powell. I mean, what an unpredictable character. You always love him. Played a great game to cap off the regular season. Once again, great touch to bring the ball down off of Barriel, switch of play, the 1-2 flick over the shoulder to Acosta, a perfectly timed cross to Baji, and his first assist of the season on the last game of the season. Gotta love it. And then he also led the team with 3 tackles as well. So defensively, creating those chances to intercept a pass or play those, one-on-one, defending skills. I thought it was really, really well with him. But yeah, I hope he brings kind of the same energy off that wing and stuffs, kind of to Zach's point that he made earlier in the podcast here.
Friend of the pod,
Coming out.
Alvis Powell.
Coming out hot. It's tough to top that.
Yeah.
I've got.
Are you gonna top that, Zach?
Well, I don't have an honorable mention, but I've got a pretty standout star here. Got jersey swap with Baji. I mean, the guy has shown up week after week when we don't have our other striker, whoever that may be.
For real.
He always comes up big when we need him, especially because who's scoring goals if it's not Vasquez? I guess it's Barrial and Lucho, but hey, I'm sticking with Baji because he doesn't get the call out very often. But he's a standout player. I think he compared to Vasquez in this game, he was everywhere. It seemed like Vasquez seemed like he was a ghost, nowhere to be seen. Like we said, least touches in the game, but this is about Baji. He had quite a few shots. Nothing, I guess, outstanding as far as the amount of shots, but he was there when we need him, and I'm glad to have him on the team.
I was actually looking it up. He just was coming out and talking about how he did community relation type work this past week as well. So that kind of goes, I think, with your jersey swap too. He's doing good stuff for the community as well.
Oh yeah, I had that in my notes. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Good call out.
Just a good guy overall. Don Baji, hard worker, like scores goals, puts in his shift. Doesn't matter if hasn't started for 10 games. Like he comes out and plays.
The 2022 versus 2023 comparison, Don Baji is night and day. I mean, he's contributing not only, with his goals, but he's also getting the assists. I believe he has 8 total goal contributions right now. Versus last season, just nothing, right? He didn't have any goals. I think he had 2 assists, 3 assists last season, something like that. So love to see him kind of adding that depth to Zach's point in that striker position. When Vasquez doesn't show up for a game, we still have Baji right there. Santos doesn't show up, we still have Baji like right there. And it's good to have that veteran piece, especially going into the playoffs.
Good point. Absolutely.
Nailed it.
Guys,
Ryan?
Another real shocker on, jersey swaps. Luciano Costa is my jersey swap of the week. I'm going to make him my MVP swap because I think that's going to be announced here soon. Lucho for MVP, 17 goals, 13 assists technically. Should have had a 14th assist. They didn't actually give him the 3rd assist from his ball to Pau, which they should have. Because in MLS, they use hockey rules and they give you 3rd pass assists. So it should be 14, which I think is a bunch of, because if they give him an assist on that, he's got the most goal contributions of anyone in the MLS. Because they didn't give it to him, he tied with Thiago Almada. So kind of a jersey swap, kind of a card in a way, but Lucho again does it for us, creates this time with his head. I want to give you a really cool stat about Lucho scoring header goals. Can you guys think of the last time that he scored a header goal?
Wayne Rooney.
Heck yeah, it was. Wayne Rooney plays a 50-yard ball to Lucho Acosta, who puts away a game winner in the last second of the game. And that, I think, was his last header goal until this moment, where he just scores another fantastic header. So the guy just knows how to pick his moments to score with his head. It's kind of cool.
That was in 2017 or something.
It's been 5 years.
I think that was the last game of the season as well, wasn't it?
It might have been it was either for them to be.
That was against NYCFC.
Yeah, to get into the playoffs or in the playoffs. I forget which one it was, but it was a very
into the playoffs.
Game. Yeah. So I guess kind of going along with that, Sam, I kind of had mine as a jersey swap, but also a card, but let's hear your card of the week.
Yeah. So my card of the week, touched on it in the opening a little bit, but I'm going to go with the season length. This season has been way too long for the players in my mind. The season won't end until December 9th, which is the MLS Cup final. Last season's MLS Cup final was November 5th. And don't even get me started on the fact that there's an international break in the middle of the playoffs, right before the conference semifinals. So from a player standpoint, your body cannot add, another month more with a snap of a finger. From last season to this season, there was no preparation given or any easing the players in with a different formatting. It was thrown at them all at once. And I really do feel for this.
I mean, when you say it like that, Sam, you're very heated about it. I mean, you make great points. I think I agree with pretty much all of it. I think you're right. Too long of a season. In short, I mean, you've got spans where we're playing through international breaks, but we don't actually take a break. It's not called an international break in MLS, I guess. But yeah, I have nothing really. I'm not as heated about it as you are, but
I didn't realize there was an international break in the middle of the playoffs.
I didn't know that either.
That's a bunch of what. And then for them
to I think it's November 21st through the 28th or something like that.
I don't know if it's a money grab thing to do a best of 3 thing. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, the playoff format, but why stretch it out so long, over the next month and a half? I know last year they had the World Cup and that's why they had to cut it short. But they didn't have this month Leagues Cup and all this other craziness. So I'm there with
once
you.
Again, I think the biggest thing for me is if you want to play all these games, you want to, quote unquote, if you want to call it a money grab, if you want to do that stuff, that's fine. But don't just like throw it on the players all at once. That's my big thing is you throw a new format of Leagues Cup, a new format of playoffs, like an extended playoff, like all in one season. Like I don't think you do that all in one season. I think you do it piece by piece, and especially like you had just said, coming off a World Cup last year, like these guys are tired.
True.
I think you could also kind of shoehorn in the formatting of just the MLS playoffs. Like you don't need as many teams, in my opinion. So really, I mean, you only have 10 teams, I guess, overall. So I guess everybody's last game was today, or sorry, not today, this past weekend. So I guess they stopped in October, but like you said, I mean, last year it's still a month earlier. So
yeah. Zach, what ended up being your jersey swap, your card of the week?
I wasn't. I would give it a pretty soft yellow, but it was just madness in the team store. Just I get very claustrophobic when there's a bunch of people in a small space. It was shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't move anywhere. It was hot. I couldn't even hear myself think half the time. Couldn't tell what I wanted or what I didn't want. But I don't know your thoughts, Ryan, because I mean I knew you actually stood in line and bought something. I couldn't imagine seeing the lines. Like I would not want to be in there. I was in there for 5 minutes and I was like, I just turned right back around as soon as I got down those steps.
The irony of it is like we waited and I wanted to get the discount, and at some point I was thinking like, man, I should have just come like the middle of the game or halftime or something like that, and I could still like get the discount. And then we walk around halfway around the stadium, and I'm pretty sure the shirt that I bought, like this one and like the other one I got, I'm pretty sure we're like right next to where my section was at that like little isolated like team shop there. So it was an experience. You're exactly right. We still have the largest team store in the MLS, and it's that crowded. Like, props to our fans. I mean, like, we buy up merchandise, I think like top 3, I think, in the league. But I think they're expanding it once we get this new district north of the stadium, which, by the way, we can kind of talk in the offseason about what we should name that, because I have a really good name for it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I think it was just a one-time thing for the end of the season. Everyone's excited going into the playoffs, but it was very claustrophobic. I have to agree.
What was the discount?
20% off all merch.
Oh, hey. Whoa.
All right. Why'd you buy something for Sam?
Come on.
Hey, don't spoil
guys.
his Christmas gift.
Saving it for Christmas. I want it for the playoffs. What are you talking about?
You got to come to a game then, bro.
The MLS Cup is your Christmas.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
fair. That's fair.
That should be everyone's. If we won 2 trophies, that is my Christmas gift. Anyway, my card of the week on a different note, Atlanta is red, and I'm going to do a red card of the week because their antics were driving me crazy. Flopping all over the place. Shout out to Sam's family friends for pointing out at their first FC Cincinnati game and calling every player that falls to the ground a flopper, because they were right. Every time they were touched, they would fall down to the ground, and wasted time for no reason.
Brad
Guzan was just moving the ball over to the one side because I don't think he could kick it from the one side of the goal box. But yeah, it was ridiculous. They got a red card. They should have had more yellow cards. For diving, for Yakamakis for sitting on the ground for 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden he gets up and realizes that there was no review for a red card and throws his hands in the air and still walks off the field. I don't know if they took a book out of like New York Red Bulls, but it was a very New York Red Bulls type antic going on against us. And I was just sick of it. I think everyone in the stadium was sick of it.
I have a question, Ryan. You played more soccer in your career than I
Let's hear
have.
it. Yep.
Do teams ever actually like have a strategy around like reffing? Playing against the ref?
It's an unwritten thing of like some teams handle it better than others. And like we talked about our kryptonite on like not being able to play a man up. Well, our other kryptonite is like when we get into it with the other team or into it with the ref, then we just stop playing. Which I think is a lot of teams, but yeah, I don't think like teams go in and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna like fall on the ground and like just make life miserable. It's like I think I've heard the term non-soccer or something like that. Like they just call it they literally have termed it a phrase of like they call it like non-soccer. It just they're there to it's a show at that point. It's a like theatrical
I'd like to
experience.
go and look back, in the previous episode to see how many times Ryan has called out the other team's antics. I feel like he's called out. I
Antics
think beginning of the
all
I think
season.
the beginning of the season was like Orlando. I think he called out, and then
Ugh.
recently was the Red Bulls again, and then now Atlanta. Like it's definitely been more than that, but I love it every time he does it.
Well, when we're everyone's like Super Bowl game, they have to like find a way to beat us, I guess. And I hate that they're doing that
It's
because
always when we play against a ref, right?
yeah, well, sneak peek on what happens next. First round of the playoffs, we're either playing Charlotte or New York Red Bulls. So surprise, we're probably gonna end up playing against this team who just loves the dark arts. So it'd be very interesting. Sorry, I got very heated about that. I usually don't bring my like anger from Saturday's games into like the podcast, but I just am so sick of teams not playing the game and just falling down on the ground. And it's just brutal.
We won't bring the NFL into this then.
Yeah, no kidding. But as we were kind of alluding to, we clinched the first spot in the whole MLS. So this first round will technically be the winner of a wild card winner, like I said, between Charlotte and New York Red Bulls, which they'll play this coming Wednesday. We'll play Sunday night at 8 p.m. I know you guys will be ready to go for 8 p.m. start on a Sunday. But no, it'll be an interesting one. First round of the playoffs technically is a best of 3 series. Very interesting format because if the game ends tied, it goes straight to PKs. So guess what? This feeds right into New York Red Bulls. Let's just not play soccer and play for a draw and try to win a PK shootout. It definitely is the advantage for the team that like doesn't have the better skill, the better players. Even if you're down a man, or if you're, winning by a goal, you're just going to shut down and stop playing.
While you say,
Go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna say, while you say that, they also can't score goals, so I guess kind of pick your poison on that one.
Say that again. I guess you mean like in the sense of like if they're not scoring, that's a good thing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, they have, I think, 39 goals scored against and like 36 scored for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, and then I think Charlotte has like, what was it, 52
I think they have
goals?
-7.
Yeah, 52 scored against, but I think they have probably like 40 something.
Let's play a game then. Who would you rather play?
I'm
Sam?
gonna go with Charlotte. I'd rather take Charlotte, obviously, first being, they're the lower seed, but second of all, they, I think they could be honestly a pretty good game. Because they finished the season pretty well for them. They won 3 of their last 4 matches to get into the playoffs, which is pretty impressive to win that final spot in the East. But our 2 matches this season against them, first one was a 2-2 draw at home at their place, right away, and then the most recent one was a 3-0 win at home for us. So selfishly as well, I'd like to hear the Mickey Mouse voice just one more time. And I'd like to hear him just lose in the playoffs. So selfishly, that's also why I want Charlotte. But as far as the reason why I don't want Red Bulls is because they're coming off a win against us, right? During this latter half of the season, like Ryan had mentioned. And then they also took us to PKs earlier this season. So they understand what our mentality is in a PK as well as, getting a defeat against us this season. So they kind of have, I don't want to say they have anything up on us because they don't, but like they've seen different sides of us, if that makes sense.
They understand how not to play soccer.
Fair enough.
They play the system. I think that's the thing is they just look 14 years in a row. This team has made the playoffs, right? They play the system to a T. They make it and then they lose in the first round. We beat them last year in the first round. They get to this point and then maybe with these new rules, it changes though. But I agree with you for all the points that you mentioned. Like Charlotte's definitely the better team to play. I'm a little bit worried about a dominant striker right now, the way our team's at least been playing when we played decent strikers. So Swiderski is who I'm referring to, who's had a couple goals against us. Can I get that on like repeat? That was I think I cut out. Could you do that again?
I don't think so.
It's getting silly here on the pod right now, but yeah, I think at least on Sunday's game, we need to get a win. Like we got to start out this best of 3. Then we go into the next Saturday, which would be the next game. And then the following week after that would be the 3rd. So it's spread out over like 3 weeks playing one team, I think, which is very, very interesting. The only game we'll actually play away will be either at Charlotte or at New York Red Bulls, which if we're talking about a team I'd rather play away, I'd rather play Red Bulls away because they don't have any fans and Charlotte actually shows up to their games. And we've seemed to do well at the New York Red Bull Stadium or TQL number 2, as some people have termed it. But it'll be interesting.
I think honestly, I'd rather go with Red Bulls. Just gotta straight up shoot it out. Honestly, they have grass, not turf. Like you said,
Good
fans
point.
don't show up. They have their scoring. They don't have like any big scorers. Frankie Amaya, I think, is their biggest scorer. So I mean, I guess say that what you will, but what else I got here? I think it'd be a more entertaining match against the Red Bulls, honestly. I think there's a little bit of mini rivalry going on. I mean, like you said, we've played them in previous Open Cup, and did we play them in the playoffs too? I can't remember. I think was that last year?
Yeah, last year, first round. Beat them.
Okay.
last year.
Yeah. But you're right about I think the grass thing is a good point.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think the stadium or the pitch size is probably going to be a lot bigger at Charlotte than it will be at Red Bulls as well. I think the Red Bull game that we played them where we lost was a complete fluke. We came off the Supporter Shield win. I think we were kind of over it. We were kind of just taking it easy on top of the reffing scandal that you want to say during that match. But I think Red Bulls would be better.
You're kind of flipping my opinion on it now, actually. I kind of like that thought. I don't know. It still makes me hesitant because of the way that they don't play soccer. I hate to say like I'd rather choose a team based on like if they play or don't play, but yeah, you're right. They don't really have like a goal scorer.
And you got to remember, I guess, yellow cards have basically reset, right?
True. Well, so if you get 2 or 3, then you're out of game, which if we're talking about a team that we're more likely to get yellow cards against, we know exactly which team that's going to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So maybe not play hard against them. I don't know. I don't know what the strategy is going to be.
Do you think Arias comes back for this game, guys?
I think he has to, right? I mean, if he's somewhat healthy, at least start. Right. And then we can see Halsey or Powell or whoever else. Hopefully we don't have to. I mean, great player, great veteran, but hopefully we don't have to get down to where Gaddis is, our backup on the right side or on the left side. But yeah, I think Arias definitely starts.
Sam Gaddis played 93 minutes in the Red Bulls game last year, actually. I had to go back and look at it, but I would still prefer Arias 100%. I mean, he was starting for the Colombia national team. So, and then the other question, I guess, would be the way that Baji's played, Zach's shout out for jersey swap and scoring a goal. Do you ride his experience playing in the MLS, playing in the playoffs? Do you play him or start him ahead of Bupenza?
you know. I think they play Bupenza just because of his high-paying contract, but I think they're kind of maybe stuck with that. But at the same time, they sat him out this past game, so I don't.
I think he rides the hot hand. I mean, you know what I
I
mean?
think so. Yeah, I think Pat Noonan knows best. Pat Noonan plays Baji.
I think he, at this point, if he's not cooperating, like him coming off the bench for 20 minutes might honestly be better for like just energy wise. I don't know. I go back and forth because I love Baji's energy at the end of the game too, but he seems to only score when he's been out there long enough to get into a rhythm. When he's come in as a sub, I don't think he's scored as much. If I remember this year,
Yeah,
the way that
I
it's
think
gone.
it all depends on that kind of disciplinary, like what's going on with that. Like, are we still disciplining him? Like, what's going on?
True.
And I think
True.
we got, a week and a half, I guess a week to figure it out, because first game would be the 29th, right?
The Sunday, yep.
So yeah.
It'd be interesting though, but I think that is kind of a good preview, at least of the first game. We'll talk probably next week on the road game because we'll have a dedicated road game and then potentially a third game. Every, I guess, round after that is single elimination. I will have to check the rules and maybe you guys can kind of clarify on this. At least in the best of 3, it goes 90 straight to PKs. The rounds after that, is there extra time and then PKs? Do you guys know that?
15 minutes and then PKs.
Okay, so from then on, it will be a more formal game, like we're typically used to, and then MLS Cup would be the same as well. When we make that on December 9th. So
and remember, you kind of rambled for a minute there, but the for the round one of best of 3, goal differential doesn't matter in that game or in that space.
Correct. You could win 5-0 the first game, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big.
It's all about
big
points.
note.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting though, because you could dominate the first game and still not advance because the team played you 0-0 and 1-1, but they won on PKs. That's just and that furthers our point from earlier in the season that like Supporter Shield is the better trophy. Like a team could totally play you to tie and just win on PKs, and then you're going to say they're the best team in the MLS because they won the MLS Cup because they won through PKs. Come on, seriously?
Yeah, say that similar situation happens, and on the third game you've got to win by at least that margin because that's what makes sense. You got to fill that gap.
It's just, I don't know, man. We'll debate this all off season, but I'm going to give you guys our trivia answer. You guys ready? It's like I give you a choice.
Yeah.
You got to be ready at least now. The question again was, which FC Cincinnati player has the most MLS Cup playoff appearances? And then I had a second part for who had the most wins. And then the final bonus part of that was who has won the MLS Cup. So the FC Cincinnati player with the most MLS Cup playoff appearances was Alvis Powell. Alvis Powell. Unbelievable.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, it is kind of a shocker. So Alvis Powell's had 16 appearances in the playoffs for MLS Cup. He's 11-15. So
what teams was he on?
So he has the most wins and the most appearances. Nick Hagelin is in second with 12 appearances, and he was 8-4. And then from there, it's kind of interesting. Baji's been in 7 playoff games. He's 1-6. Lucho is actually only 1-4 in playoff games. But then Miazga's 3-1. And then there's kind of a mixed bag from there on other people. But you guys had guessed on, I believe, the MLS Cup winners, and Sam had locked in Vasquez and Hagelin, I believe. Mm-hmm. And Zach, you had Vasquez.
Yeah.
So there's 3. It's Vasquez with Atlanta, Hagelin with Toronto, and Alvis Powell actually won 2015 with Portland Timbers. So,
Oh, he was on Timbers.
guys, we
Okay.
might need to lean more on Alvis Powell in the playoffs with all this experience.
Sounds like
My
it.
guy.
Sam's jersey swap is like really killing it this time. But yeah, pretty impressive. He's played in a lot more games than like everyone else, at least in MLS Cup. He's been on some good teams. He's had 11 playoff games for the Timbers, 2 for FC, 2 for Philly, and 1 for Miami. So a lot of different variety of Eastern and Western Conference too.
For sure. Wow.
Any final things you guys want to touch on here? We'll close this out and go from there, I would imagine.
No, yeah, I look forward to seeing who we get here on Wednesday. Figure out if it's Charlotte or Red Bulls.
You guys
Yeah,
gonna watch the game?
I was about to say, I think I actually might.
Zach, you want to sit around and watch?
I think I'm not doing anything. I can't think that far in advance, but
All right.
it's going to be tough sitting on an 8 p.m. Sunday night match.
Formal
I'm going to be
invite over the
honest.
podcast.
It's gonna be a late match, but hopefully a win. We'll start out the playoffs with a W, hopefully, but tune in next week. We'll chat a little bit more about that game and our look forward to the rest of the playoffs.